Alright, so that leads us into our next speaker, which is Greg Cassar. Greg was actually in the year above me at school, at Chevalier College over in Barrel. We didn't know each other then, but we certainly know each other now. Greg is an expert in online conversion. Alright, so who's got a website? Yep, very good. Everybody in the room, which is probably the way it should be. Now, Greg's going to talk to us about how we can increase our conversions on our website. So it's not just enough to have a website there. That's not good enough. We need it to rock. We need it to make more money for us. So I'm not going to go. Greg's worked with some amazing companies. He's been on, worked with Google for a number of years, and so he's played at a high level. Greg runs a mastermind session, which if you want to work with Greg, you know, you're paying upward of $18,000 for a year. And he fills that. So that's the sort of caliber people who come to listen to Greg Cassar. So, guys, if you could please be up on your feet and welcome Greg Cassar.
Thanks, Stephen. Excellent. Thank you very much. Take a seat. Okay, so this web area, obviously very, very important. Everyone's got a website. Most of us have brochures, though, brochure websites. We don't really have what I consider lead machines. So what we're going to look at here is how to really turn your web presence into a lead machine, not just a brochure site. So there was some discussion there about increasing conversions, and I think conversions is one part of it, but we're going to go further than that. From running a traffic and conversion agency for many years, we got very good at how to crank businesses from the web. So I'm going to show you formulaically how to double your business using the internet, just purely the internet. And then later on, I'm going to show you a case study, step-by-step case study of a business that we worked with recently, where we doubled it in 5 months and then we tripled it in 12 months. So you'll see step-by-step what it takes to do that. When you see these things up here, you're going to see a lot of things that, you'll see some things that you're already doing, and you'll see some things that maybe you're not doing already. So take note of the things that you are doing and identify those as gaps. We're also going to look at the 2 biggest traffic sources for business owners in 2014, which is Google AdWords and also Facebook ads. So we'll dig deeper into those as well. Alrighty, so let's get stuck into it. I'll just start with a quick little bit about my story, so you know, who I am and basically that I'm not a muppet. Alright, so I was an entrepreneur right from a very, very early age. I remember back in high school, there was an opportunity that, as I saw it, but a lot of people were upset about this particular thing at the time. The school, they shut down selling junk food at the canteen. I was in year 11, so you're about 16 years of age at that time. So they stopped selling junk food. Within 3 days, what I'd done is I'd bought a whole bunch of confectionery wholesale and basically set up shop. So I hired out 11 lockers and paid my brothers and sisters to carry this stuff in. And we had a lineup, like basically from that corner to that corner, of people buying Mars bars, chips, cans of Coke, all that sort of thing. So I was making $50 profit a day, which was great when you're 16. This went on for about 2 weeks, and then I got a note one morning that I had to go see the vice principal. And I thought, oh, this isn't good. It was a gentleman by the name of Mr. Top, who Stephen would know. So I went in and I went in to see him, and I knew what was going to happen. So I went straight up to him. I tapped him on the shoulder. I shook his hand and I thanked him, for running such a fine educational institution and what they taught me in economics class about supply and demand and how I was able to take that and demonstrate it for the whole school to see, that sort of thing. And I just thanked him and I left. And then thought, wow, I got away with that. Then the next day I got another note and I went in and I was going to do the same spiel again, and he's like, no, Mr. Cassar, just sit down, shut up. And they shut me down. But that was fine because it was becoming a logistical nightmare anyway. So then from there, because I had all that cash, I was like a good Maltese boy. I had a roll of cash with an elastic band around it like I'd learned from my grandfather. And so what did I do next? So I started a gambling ring because I had all this money, which is probably not morally that great. But one of the guys in the group that wasn't really known for his brains, he smoked a cigar in the classroom where we were doing it, and we got shut down pretty quickly, and there was no talking our way out of that one either. From an early age I realised computers was the way to go, so got really, really good at that, and went off to university, and then from there had a career in corporate IT and worked my way up to be an enterprise architect. So I used to design computer networks for banks and insurance companies and BlueScope and all that sort of stuff. So I was a bit of a geek. But then I started getting good at online, so selling stuff online. And a lot of other business owners asked me, could you help us with that? Could you help me with what you're doing? So we started to do a lot more of that, and we just by accident become a marketing agency. And then once we figured out what was going on online, we became a traffic and conversion marketing agency, because we realised everything online comes down to just two things, traffic and conversion. And we work with businesses from startups through to about that 50 mil, 40, 50 mil type range. And one good thing about working across so many businesses is you learn a lot. You can take things from this one and that sort of thing. So that was really good. And as Stephen said, now we do a lot more coaching. We work with business owners, we coach them in this space, and then we use the agency as far as to implement and make stuff happen, which is great. I also publish a magazine called Internet Marketing Magazine, which goes out to 26,000 people every month. And we mainly use this as a tool, one for positioning and authority, but also to meet people. So who in our area is really, really clever, and meet those sort of folks. We do stuff with different e-commerce stores, and we also, this is the main charity we work with, which is kiva.org. Is anyone familiar with Kiva at all? Yeah, okay, great. So this is micro-lending, so instead of just giving a hand out all the time, this is giving a hand up. So this is entrepreneurs in third world countries, and you lend them money, so you might lend them 25 or 50 bucks. So say, for example, you were in Peru and you wanted to set up a basket weaving company, then you might go get money from Kiva, and then as you get your basket weaving company going, you put the money back in and then you relend it. So it's just a great way as an entrepreneur. With a little bit of money, you can just make this amazing difference. So we do a lot of that stuff. And much like you guys, for investing your time and your money for plugging yourself into this environment, I also do the same. For me, I have to go to America, basically to stay at the pointy end of the internet game. So like on Sunday, I'm off again. Does anyone know who these guys are? No, that's all right. So big dudes in the internet space in the US anyway, and I go there 4 times a year to keep up to date with the very latest of what's happening. And then this is family, because when it comes down to it, really, what do you do business for? It's not really just about the business, it's to do stuff, with your family. That's my wife and kids. And this is the latest addition of the family. This is Bruce. So Bruce is a border collie pup. We live right near Osmere Beach, and we've got this amazing 2-story house, and upstairs is house and downstairs is the office. And my wife, Jules, she had this great idea that Bruce, he was going to be an inside dog. But I don't know how many people know about border collie pups. They've just got so much energy. And Bruce, he trashed everything, like in the office, in the house, that sort of thing, started chewing things and all that sort of stuff. Within 3 days, I went up to Jules and I said, do you mind if he's an outside dog that comes in sometimes? And she's like, yeah, let's do it. So yeah, that's Bruce. He's bigger now, but that's what he's like. And the last member of the family is Jumpy. And his blood pressure's gone up significantly since Bruce has moved in. And now we've got this big, I had to build a fence. I'm not really that handy, I'm sort of more of a brains type guy. And I had to build this big fence down the middle so that they've got their own halves, and that's the only way we can sort of stop the, Bruce chasing Jumpy around the yard. All right, so that's a bit of backstory. Let's roll up our sleeves now and get stuck into it. So really good stuff about what can you do to make your web presence. Basically what can you do to double the amount of leads and sales that you're getting from the web. Most businesses we work with are actually services businesses, and really what it all comes down to is inbound leads. The more inbound leads you can get, the better that you can price things, and the better you can also negotiate. Because if you've only got a few leads coming in, then you're dependent on, you've got to win every piece of business. Or if you've got a lot of leads coming in, then it doesn't matter so much. You can walk away from business that where, say for example, you can't price it well enough to make money, because sometimes what I see with a lot of business owners is they're busy, but then at the end of the day, they're not making a lot of money. So that's why the more leads you can get coming in, the better you can price stuff. But it's not all just about the technical stuff. One thing we figured out is there's a whole bunch of different principles and fundamentals that you have to have in place to really, really do well from the web. And here's some of those. And in your notebooks, you'll see there's also sections if you want to write down any of this stuff so that you commit it to memory. And there's a lot of screenshots and stuff in here. Stephen, if I give you like a PDF of this, will you give it to the group afterwards? Because there's for example, web forms and stuff you can copy and all that sort of stuff. So we'll organise that for you so you take the maximum value away from this session.
Thanks for that, Craig.
You're very welcome. All right, so 7 keys for long-term sustained success in business and digital marketing. So the first one is the 80-20 principle. So we apply this to everything that we do, every decision we make. So this is talking about what's the 20% of things that we can do that'll give us the 80% of results. And I think, as business owners and especially as entrepreneurs, often we've got so many opportunities available to us. And so just figuring out, what's good enough. You don't want to put crap out into the market, but sometimes good enough is enough to test it and then go from there. Does anyone here know the impact ease grid? Has anyone used that before? I haven't got it in the slide, but I'll show you something quickly. I'll go off on a tangent for a sec. My handwriting's shocking, by the way. That's why part of the reason why I became a computer geek. So if you've got a whole bunch of opportunities and you want to sort of 80-20 it, one of the things to do is an impact ease grid. So if this is impact, and then this is ease. And so say you had three opportunities, opportunity A, opportunity B, and opportunity C. I'll move around here, sorry, so I haven't got my back to you guys. So say opportunity A was going to bring in a lot of money for the business and it was really, really easy to implement. So it'd be high impact, to be fair to say, and it'd be quite easy. So we might put A over there. Okay, so then say opportunity B was going to be easy to implement, but wasn't really going to make that much difference as far as sales or profits or whatever. So it's easy to implement, but not really going to give us that much impact. So we do opportunity B there. We put opportunity B there. And if something was going to bring us a lot of impact, like a lot of money into the business, or just a great opportunity, but it wasn't very easy to implement, then it would be, we'll put, say for example, we put C there. So you can see how you can take all the different opportunities you've got and start to figure out where they sit on this overall thing. And then basically you want to sort of focus on opportunities that are up in this space because they're going to give you the greatest impact and, for the most ease. So we use that all the time, the impact ease grid. So if you're ever having a decision of what should we do next, draw an impact ease grid. So that's 80-20. $1 million mindset. And I know we've got a session on mindset this afternoon, which is great. I don't think mindset is ever one of those things where you can say, wow, I've nailed it. It's always a constant journey. You keep working into that space. I've invested a lot of time and money in this space, and I think if you ever get the opportunity to learn something like NLP or whatever, definitely do it. I learned a thing from a guy, Pat Mesiti, who's an Australian mindset guy, and he says you can't build $1 million business with a $2 mindset. And that just really, resonated with me, and I think that's true. And I think even back from the marketing agency days, sometimes it was like perfect supply, perfect demand, everything, all the stars aligned. But if the business owner's mindset was rubbish, it would sabotage everything. So it didn't matter, you could have the best marketing agency behind something or the best everything, but if their mindset was rubbish, no good. So mindset is just something to constantly keep working on. Number 3 is a winning offer. So we used to think this was just maths and psychology, but we realise now it's more psychology, so maybe 2 parts psychology, 1 part maths. So let's unpack this for a bit. So maths is talking about the mathematics of an offer. So you don't want to be running campaigns on the web or offline, anything that's costing you money. So if you're spending $1, you want to make sure you're making $2 or more, whatever, to make sure that it's working. So we try to, run our winners long and cut our losers short. So we've got this thing that we say about be a marketing hawk, which means really watch your numbers. And I know Tony talked about that as to whatever you watch, you can manage, and whatever you don't track and measure, you can't. So that's the bit about get the maths right. And then the psychology is about who's your exact target market, and then what the heck do they really, really want. So we see this with like free offers and that sort of thing on the web, where people will put up an offer of, this is just something they've got, a white paper or a report or whatever, but haven't really thought about who's my exact market and what is it that they really, really want. So that psychology piece is more important than the maths, but they're both important for winning online. And winning online comes down to 2 things, and it's all traffic and conversion. So if you could only focus in one area first, who thinks we should focus in the traffic area first? Can we see, raise their hands? Yep, so maybe a third. Okay, who thinks we should focus in the conversion area first? Okay, yeah, about the same again. Always the conversion area first, and the reason why is because all traffic has a cost. So whether it's time or whether it's money, all traffic has a cost. So if we can get our website converting into more leads or more sales, then when we do put money into our advertising, which is our traffic, it's going to be a better use of our funds, a better use of our advertising funds. Because every time we can double the conversion rate of the website, effectively we're halving our cost per lead, and you're getting double the amount of leads for the same ad spend. Does that make sense? So yeah, we want to focus on conversion first. And number 5 is speed of implementation. One of the things online is it's very easy to get distracted by a whole bunch of different stuff. Okay, just hang on one sec. Hey, so is it possible to turn this audio down slightly with really, really loud in my left ear? Thanks. Number 5, so speed of implementation. I know when we got started online, there was a whole bunch of opportunities where we were just too slow to implement, and other people took it and run with it first and got away with it. So one of the things online is definitely you need to be quick to implement stuff, or your competition will go ahead of you. And because often you're not just competing with local people, you might be competing with, great, thank you very much. I just had a reverb thing going. So basically you might not just be competing with local people, you may be competing with people on a national or an international scale. So that's why speed of implementation is crucial. Number 6 is reputation management, and reputation has always been important. But in today's day and age of social media and Google, etc., what people say about you is even more important than it used to be, where it was a one-to-one and now it's a one-to-many type conversation. So I know one thing that Google built their whole business around. Google actually won the search engine wars based on one term, which was relevancy. So while all the other different search engines were going out there and you could bid your way to the top of them and all that, Google said, no, let's do this right. We'll focus on always serving up the most relevant results. And so that's how they won the war, and they built their business around that one word, which is relevancy. We did the same thing and played the long-term game rather than just getting short-term wins and that sort of business cycle. We've sort of done this type of thing, and we always use our fundamental, what's the word that we build our business around, and we use integrity. So then when we're making business decisions and we do like the impactees and all that sort of stuff, and then we say, does it meet, our integrity rule set? And that also helps with your reputation management because you don't get into those sort of problems. And number 7 is the power of a coach. So, and a lot of you are already plugged into this environment, especially this amazing VIP group, so you know about that. One thing I've found, and I've had coaches over the years in a whole bunch of different areas, there's certain areas of your business that you really shouldn't outsource. One is the maths, so the accounting type stuff as far as not knowing your numbers, you need to know that bit. And the marketing and the sales is another bit that you really need to have your finger on the pulse. Even if you don't do all of it yourself, you need to know it so you can manage it well. And coaching in that space can make a massive difference. So you don't reinvent the wheel. Basically, coaching just gets you there quicker. So in this picture, this is Sean Foley, who's Tiger Woods' coach, and here he's talking to him about his long game and also encouraging him to sleep with less women because it was getting pretty public at the time and really affecting his game. And as you know, his whole game went downhill. So that was what that was about. All right, so remember we spoke about conversion. So let's look at how can we make our websites more effective first. So as you're looking at these, maybe put an asterisk beside the ones that you're not doing well, the ones that you're not nailing, because that'll make it really, really easy for you to come back later and say, okay, what are some quick wins that we can do to basically get more site visitors putting up their hand to say that they're a lead or that they want to do business with you. All right, so 8 best practices for website design that sells. So the first one is the 10-second rule. So when someone first gets to your website, they're not making a will I buy decision. The exception might be like Amazon.com where people are already trained to go there and buy. But as a general rule for most of us, they're not making a will I buy decision. They're making a will I stay or will I go decision. So, and as Tony mentioned, they're with them, the what's in it for me. They basically want to know who you are, what's your value proposition, but they really want to know what's in it for them. So in this example, with the logo up here, I think I've got a pointer actually, it's saying like their logo and then it says exactly underneath it what they do. So retail consulting and training. So the retail solution, retail consulting and training. So very quickly they're communicating, who they are and what they do. And then a main positioning statement here on that first slider saying delivering higher sales and profits for retailers through leading edge consulting and training. So but think about with your website now, are you communicating well with that 10-second rule? In reality, these days it's probably closer to 5 seconds. You really don't have much time to communicate that. But I would say 9 out of 10 websites that I visit fail in this regard. So they don't do that well. All right, number 2, primary course of action. So here's an example of a home page, but it's not just a home page. It's actually every page on your website. You need to look at your website and say, what is the primary course of action that I want the site visitor to take here? And then maybe like, what's the secondary course of action that you want them to take? Because the reality is, if you don't know what you want them to do, chances are the website isn't designed in such a way to steer them there. So here in this case, we're actually saying, start here, see the benefits of Mind Matters for your loved one's brain. So these guys, they do, it's called neurofeedback, effectively. They soup up your brain and help with things like ADHD and Asperger's and that kind of stuff. But it's a very complex subject and not easy to explain. So that's why we're driving them towards a video straight away and explain a video so they could watch it in a couple of minutes. And then here, as far as a secondary course of action, this is a little bit cheeky on this one. We're actually staying here, step 2, see the most common mind and brain problems that we effectively treat. So you might not want to do step 2. You could do it with colours and that sort of thing. There's a whole bunch of different ways. Like, for example, here's Body Trim. This is a large weight loss brand that we worked with for several years. And so here we're using the use of colour. So we're using traffic light colours of green for the primary course of action, start my free trial now, and yellow for learn more. Because we know this market, basically what's happening is a lot of the traffic's coming from TV, they're hitting the web, on TV they've seen an offer about the free trial, and so we're making it very, very easy for them to do that. And not everyone's ready straight away to start the free trial, so we also know that there needs to be a secondary course of action. So think about this, for your web site, and we're also doing it even up in the menu. So you can see different colours for primary and secondary course of action, that kind of thing. All right, number 3 is decision junction boxes and navigation. So junction boxes on a homepage, effectively a homepage is like a roundabout. No one's going to your site because they want to hang out on your homepage. They're actually going to your site to solve a problem or to find out about a service you offer, that kind of thing. So, like if I go back one, those are junction boxes down the bottom where there's a whole bunch of different options. Those are junction boxes as well. So where you've got a couple different services or a couple main things that you provide on your homepage, make sure you've got junction boxes for those. It'll make it really, really quick and easy for someone when they get to your homepage to go off in different questions. Because I'm pressed for time, I'm just going to take questions at the end if that's cool. And then, so the other way this can be used is like wizard-based selling. So if you sell, what I mean by that is if you sell something that your customers aren't necessarily going to be experts on, and you might need to guide them through the sales process. So this is an example in the turf space. Who here would say they're an expert on turf? Okay, so no turf experts in the room. But you may all be potential customers that need to buy turf at some stage. So say, for example, you've bought a house, it's just got all dirt out there and the relos are rocking up in 2 weeks for Christmas, something to that effect. You may be really, really motivated to get turf. But how do you know which one's right for you? So that's why you design elements like this. So this one here actually says, which turf is right for me. So that is actually the most clicked button on this website. We know from looking at the analytics and stats, etc. So which turf is right for me? If they click on that, it then takes them off to a page which is saying, which turf is right for me? Do you want shady stuff? Have you got like a lot of shade? Is there going to be a lot of people playing on there? Is it just for around the home? Does that make sense? So people can easily identify which one's for them. And then, so say for example, if they now chose shade, then it will show them different options that would work if you had a shady lawn. And then when you get down into this sort of thing where there's like 2 options, you should be smart about it and think about, okay, which do we make the most money on or which do we feel the most comfortable putting forward, and put that one at the top, because generally whatever's at the top will get clicked most, and then go through to the page. So in this case, what's happened in this organisation, rather than just people ringing up saying, I need some turf but I've got no idea what I need, people would ring up and they're a more informed consumer. Oh, I really were after Sir Walter turf because we've got a really, really shady lawn and we've got, a high volume of play on it. Does that make sense? So people, you've made it really easy for people to choose what it is. So think about your business now and whether or not that wizard-based selling, using junction boxes and then nested in other junction boxes, would that help people get to where you really needed them to go? Okay, number 4 is a lead magnet on every page. So a lead magnet is just something of high perceived value where they're happy to give away their details in exchange for. And often people say, it should be a free report or a white paper or videos, that kind of thing. But, working literally across 200 to 300 different businesses over the last couple of years, what we've found is the most effective lead magnet, the thing that gets the most leads as a general rule for most businesses, is just an inquiry form. Because just like this name, email, mobile, how can we help? And those words are really key. So how can we help? ? Is better than like request a quote, that kind of thing. I see that all the time, people saying request a quote. Request a quote, it sucks on the website. The reason why is because it's too far down the engagement cycle. It's like in a dating analogy, asking someone to go away for the weekend when you haven't gone through the whole, flowers and chocolates and dinner out type scenario. It may work for you, don't get me wrong, it may be worth a shot, but if it feels right, go for it. But what I'm saying is I think there's an order to this stuff and you're less likely to get slapped on the face. Lead magnet. So think about with your website, you may not necessarily want this on the homepage, but every other page, have you got some way that's really, really easy for them to put up their hand? So, and remember what Tony said about different markets will respond differently. So Granny is going to call your number, but someone who may be younger or someone who hits your website at 11 o'clock at night, they're not going to call you. They're going to fill in that inquiry form, and then you get back to them, first thing the next day, that kind of thing. So a lead magnet. And the other thing is what I didn't explain. In Western society, how do we read? Our eyes start in the top left, so up here. If I'll turn around your way. And then our eyes go down and across like this. So we know that's going to happen. So that's why we've got like headline up here, and that's why we've got these calls to action over here on the right, because we know that their eyes are going to stop there before they go over. And then what's going to happen when they get to the bottom? At the bottom, we have to tell them what to do next. So here we say, your next steps, contact us on da-da-da-da. If we don't tell them what to do, then they may just click on the back button. Another thing that can work really well there is other products or services you may be interested in include, and you show them similar products or similar services to what they've looked at already. So here's examples of other lead magnets where it's not an inquiry form. So this is on our magazine site. So say for example here, 7 proven steps to double your landing page conversion and halve your cost per lead. So this is sort of a sexy offer if you're a hardcore internet marketer. So they click on that banner, and then it takes them up to what I call a Bing style landing page, where the purpose of this page is just to capture the lead. So this can really, really work well. Whenever we design pages like this, we don't just design one copy of it. You design multiple copies of it. So by just building the first page and then like save as with Word doc, but copying it over to a second page name, and then you can use like a free tool like Google Analytics. It's got this thing called content experiments in there, and it'll let you say, okay, let's drive 50% of this traffic to the first page and 50% of the traffic to the second page. And we'll track, when they reach the thank you page, we'll know that's a conversion, that's a lead. So let's see, which one does better, the first page or the second page. And so say for example, the second page is done better, then it'll declare it a winner. And then what you do is you make it the control, and you now get rid of the first page, move this one over there, and then think, okay, now what's something else we can do? So is it we write a new headline for a new second page, or change the title of the report, or change the call to action button, any of that sort of stuff. Just basically, if you've got an offer that you're driving a lot of traffic to, don't just have one version of it, have multiple versions of it. It can really make a difference, because like for example, this one, we actually have 4 versions of this page running at the moment, and 2 of them convert at roughly 40%, meaning that 4 out of every 10 people who hit that page leave their details, which is not shabby, right? We've got one version of it that converts at about 30%, and there's another version of it which we just culled, and it was converting at 9%. So you can see the difference from 40% to 9%, and all that's changed on that page is just the headline. So the fourth version of the page had a different headline, and the market didn't respond to it. So we were able to just turn that off. But if we led with that first and just put it up, we would have only been converting 9% of the traffic. Does that make sense? So that importance of split testing. But I would say 98 out of 100 business owners don't do it. They don't do it. But leaving so much money on the table as a general rule. Okay, so number 5, benefit-ridden sales copy chunks. So I think we've all been to those web pages where it's just like one full page of text. And these days, we're very time poor, and we have very, very short attention spans. And if you look at, we do eye tracking studies and that sort of thing, because actually none of the stuff that I'm teaching you is guessed. It's all based on hard evidence, what we've seen from video tracking and all that sort of stuff. So what we can see is if there's a page like that, people just basically scroll down through it, or they leave. Because how people are actually reading the web is they're looking at headlines, they're looking at pictures, they're looking at bullet points, and then they're just basically skim reading, and also things that are bolded. And then if they find something that they resonate with, then they'll stop and they'll read that section in detail, and then they'll keep going just to the next headline, the next. So you've got to think about with your website, especially a lot of corporates, they use really, really small font, and they don't break it up. Just one headline at the top, and then just page of text. It's a nightmare. So you really want to think about, and like in this page, this is actually for a training company in a corporate training space. And what we did there that really smashed it was we got into the mind of the prospect. And so the people who were going to be going for this course, what did they really want to know? So, for example, here these headlines, who stands to benefit from this training? How's the course delivered? How many delegates can attend? About your trainers. So the page then answers pretty much all their questions, and they can skim to whatever bit was relevant to them. So think about that for your product or service. And another key point on that is if you've got multiple products or services, something very, very common we see is people will have like our services page, and it lists the 8 things that they do or the 4 things that they do on the one page. That's fine as long as each of those link off to its own page. So if you've got service A, service B, service C, it's fine to have an our services page, but they need to link off to, so say for example, our plumbing service, and there's a whole page all about the plumbing service. And then if you've got an electrical service, there's a whole page all about the electrical service, that kind of thing. Because if Google sees a page that's about a whole bunch of different services, effectively, from a relevance point of view, it's not really that relevant to them, as far as they can't say this page is all about plumbing services or this page is all about electrical services. So they'll effectively rank it for nothing. So think about that with your own website. Have you got pages about one thing, or have you got pages about a heap of things? Also with the wording on your website, here's something interesting to know from for those who are interested in SEO, search engine optimization, which is a bit geeky, I know. But if you've copied the words from someone else's website, or if you're working, for example, in a franchise model and everyone's got the exact same words on your website, what Google will do is go, okay, cool, here's this section. Where have we seen that before? No, we haven't seen that anywhere before, so yep, let's rank that. That's relevant. Let's put that in our indexes. They go along the next bit. Where have we seen this before? Oh, it's over here, it's over there, it's over there. Okay, which one has the... so that website. Which one was the original one? That one? Okay, so let's rank that and let's ignore all the rest. So some people are wondering why they're not getting found in the search engines, and it's because like 3/4 of their content is copied from other places. So, just basically Google or ignore it. But here, so benefit-ridden sales copy chunks. Okay, the next one is video and explainer video. So I really, really love video on websites. The reason why is because you can communicate your main message in, say, for example, 1 to 3 minutes, that kind of thing. You don't really want to go much longer than that. And it's a salesperson that you pay for once, and then, it just basically does the work for you. It just communicates, and it communicates in a very short way your best message. I'll show you a formula for what your videos should do as a general rule. So the first thing they should do is state the problem. and then aggravate the problem. Then we don't want to leave them with the problem, so we want to provide a solution. And then we don't want to just make a claim, we want to prove it. So then we want to do prove. Problem, aggravate, solution. So proof. And I'll show you an example of one of these in a moment. And then call to action. So I'll get out of your way. Problem, aggravate, solution, prove, call to action. And we do often do these explainer videos. I'll do this explainer video and then I'll show you how we made it. What are the clanks? Yeah, so for example, here on this, where you've got a slider and then you've got a play button on it, that's a great thing to do on your homepage. And then you use what's called lightbox technology, where when they click on it, it hides the rest of the website, puts it dark, and they just focus on that one thing. These work really, really well. So here's an example of an explainer video.
The current state of retail is challenging, with many retailers finding traffic counts are down and most customers spending less per visit. Competition is at an all-time high.
Hear how it's stating a problem?
And will continue to get tougher, and customers are now buying online in droves. Against this backdrop, it is challenging to recruit and retain the best talent.
Aggravating the problem.
Research shows us that customer service levels are at an all-time low, with nearly 60% of customers believing that customer service has declined over the past 5 years. Furthermore, over half of these consumers didn't purchase as a result of poor customer service. The retail landscape looks bleak, but it doesn't have to be this way. At The Retail Solution, we believe and can prove that retail...
So he's saying, that, yeah, but it doesn't have to be this way. That's a great line to move from that problem and aggravate into the solution type component. And obviously it goes through and it does the other components as well, where in the end it tells them, call us now or inquire and we'll help you out effectively. That's one way to do those. Those explainer videos, as a general rule, cost about maybe $400, $450, and we do them on Fiverr.com. As a general rule, how it works is we'll write a script or we'll grab someone else's script, for example, find someone else who's done an explainer video like that, grab that script, you can send it off to, basically send it off to get transcribed, and then from there, edit it, turn it into your own script, and then send it off to the audio guy to get the audio done, and then send it off to an animator to do that. And that can all happen on Fiverr. So yeah, about $450 to do a video like that. This sort of video is not exactly the same as that, but it uses emotion.
Being a yoga teacher is not just a job, it comes
Fiverr.
from perhaps a deep calling within and a sincere desire to help not only yourself but others whom you share this life with. So I honour each and every one of you for taking these first steps to commit to this journey.
Yes.
So each morning we'll have a beautiful flowing vinyasa.
So this is an explainer video as well, but here they're talking, she's explaining how the course is going to work. This is actually part of the case study that I'm going to show you later, where when we added that video, it doubled the response of the main money page. Okay, social proof. So social proof, think about how can you use it on your website. We use it in the form of testimonials. So if you've got some great runs on the board, some success stories. We've got like this one page on our site that says like what others say, and it just goes on and on and on for success stories. If you can do that, it makes selling very, very easy. So this one here was a guy I worked with, and we did a product launch where we did $750,000 online in roughly 4 weeks. And then it was an application process, and then it came down to be like 430 grand in sales in just a couple of weeks. Here's another one, 89K in sales in the first 8 weeks. So this one, how we actually did this was the customer, he had a great product, great service, but he didn't really have any way of communicating with them over and over again. So we just implemented a database, in this case Infusionsoft, and then designed an offer and started communicating with them. And that's, just money that can be found often in businesses. I'll just skip over that. Another way that you can do this social proof thing is if you work with a lot of big companies or you've got some pretty impressive customers, doing that, whole customers include thing can really, really work well, because it just shows at what level you do business at. So that's a great strategy if you've got some pretty impressive clients, because other big organisations will know that you play at their level. Okay, number 8 is a responsive site or mobile optimized. So responsive, basically what that means is your website, if you're on a smaller screen, it'll adjust to that. If you're on a real small screen, it'll adjust to that. And so if you're ever getting a new website developed, you need to make sure it's responsive these days. It has to adjust. And a lot of business owners that I meet, it just completely ignore this or don't necessarily know about it. But it's so important now. You really don't want to ignore this, because roughly 30% of your traffic to your website is coming from mobile devices, and about 15% of that is from small handheld mobile devices. So if you don't have a responsive site or a mobile optimized site, then they're having to do that whole pinch and zoom thing, which isn't a great experience. And what it basically means is 15 out of every 100 people that turn up, you're sort of annoying and sending them away. So it's really, really important. We also do these dedicated mobile sites, and these work even better. So often you can have a responsive website that adjusts itself and a dedicated mobile site as well. And so on this one, I'll show you what really works. See these call to action buttons that we had at the top up there? Like call us, find us, send us a quick text. So if they click call us and then says, do you want to call that number? Yes. So it just converts so well. Find us, where they click on that and then it launches Google Map and then helps them with directions on how to find your physical premise, that kind of thing. And then this other one of send us a quick text. And so that basically Google put us onto that actually last November. And what it does is they click on it and it says, do you want to send the text to this number? They say yes, and they send a text. And so many people use that because it's very, very low and not threatening form of communication. The great thing about it is, though, that the lead is coming in from their mobile phone, and they've always got their mobile phone with you. So say, for example, they ask a question like, oh, do you guys do Sir Walter Turf? You can write back, yeah, we do. We've got a bit in stock at the moment. I'll give you a call. And you actually give yourself permission to do an inbound sales call to them. It's really, really clever, and it's coming straight through to their mobile. So it's just really, really effective. And this shows just like an example of, there's many, many, many of these. But this isn't someone's landing page. This is their home page. The mobile version of their home page is converting at 24%, meaning 24% of people who hit their home page from the mobile are either calling them, texting them, or using the map feature to find them. So that's just so powerful. And also, it can really affect the impact of your advertising. So here's an example where without a mobile site, the cost per lead was $66. And then when we added a mobile site, the cost per lead from mobile got down to 46 cents a lead. But admittedly, this is an extreme example because this was in weight loss. And as a general rule, overweight people, if they see something on telly and then they can do it from the handheld mobile, they'll do that rather than getting up. So that's why that is not absolutely correct, but it's a fact. So that's why that one's so extreme. But it does show a trend of So if you're not doing anything to do with mobile, you're definitely leaving money on the table. So just think about how are you tracking with your mobile strategy. Okay, so that's a bit about how to make your website more effective. Hopefully everyone should have got something out of that as far as what you can do to crank things up a bit. So now let's look at Google AdWords. So Google AdWords is definitely one of the most effective ways of driving traffic to your business. And the reason why is because they're actively searching for the problem or solution that you provide. But many business owners I speak to say it's too expensive. I'm not doing it. But often it's not too expensive. Often it's that it hasn't been optimized correctly. Because basically, how you've got to do it is treat it like waste and get rid of the waste. You can set up this thing called conversion tracking, saying, okay, if they called us, let's call that a conversion. If they filled in our form, let's call that a conversion. Run it for a while and say we spent that much. Now, okay, out of all that, how much of it resulted in leads? It was only this much. So all this, let's cut it and never ever spend it again, and put that same budget but now into this bit. And so we start to crank that. And then, so say for example, we were happy to spend $7 on a lead, or 20, say for example, we're happy to spend $20 on a lead. Now we can look at those and say, okay, which of those is costing us more than $20 a lead? It's those ones. So now let's get rid of that. And most people don't do that sort of stuff with their Google AdWords. How many people here would you say, put up your hand if you're running Google AdWords at the moment? Okay, only a fraction. So good on you for those who are. This is, if we look at the 80-20 of all that money that we've driven online, this is a big hitter. It's, without a doubt, the best traffic strategy you can do for most businesses. There's certain businesses, say for example, like Plumbing Sydney, that kind of thing, where it's $7 a click and that you're selling a $70 service and it doesn't work. But as a general rule, if your maths are fine, then you really want Google AdWords. And what it is, it's these ads at the top and the right-hand side of Google. So if you haven't got it, the thing is you don't want to design this yourself. The problem is, because if you design it yourself, it's actually set up to lose you money. There's a whole bunch of what in the industry they call Google idiot taxes, where if you don't know about this setting, it's set up to drain you extra 7% of your spend that you don't need. If you don't know about this setting, it's set up to waste another 10% for you and all that sort of thing. Google made a whole bunch of changes over the last couple of years, and every time they made a change, they gave themselves a little pay rise here and a little pay rise there. And the problem is, if you don't know that stuff, then you can lose a lot of money. So you want it designed by a pro, who you've got to find someone who's good, and then if you get, this can be like spitting out money. It can be like a slot machine where you're just spending that. It's like arbitrage. You're spending that and you're making that. For a lot of businesses, this is the biggest way that they get leads. So even if you only learn one thing from me, just think about, can we test this in our business, but get someone really good to design it for you. And effectively how an ad works, headline, descriptions, and links off to your site. I won't go into that because I'm going to run out of time. But when it comes down to it, really, relevancy is the key. Everything in this comes down to relevancy plus direct response. That's one of the biggest principles we've learned that's made us and our clients the most money. So what we're talking about is they're searching for something. We need to give them an ad that's 100% relevant to that. And then we need to take them to a landing page that is 100% relevant to that. And then we need to give them a call to action, really easy for them to call us or fill in the inquiry. So relevancy plus direct response. So let's look at an example here. So they go plumbing emergency. So if they're searching for plumbing emergency, they then give them an ad which is all about plumbing emergency, and it's going to send them off to the emergency plumber page. I'll just skip over that one. So you're then sending them to a page which is all about emergency plumbing service. So you can see how that was relevant from the search to the ad to the page you take it to. Notice we didn't take them to the home page of our site, did we? We took them to the right page. And then the direct response component. So we're making it really, really easy for them to call us or to inquire with us. That is just such a big thing that most businesses seem to miss. And what it can do, as far as, here's another one of ours, Rick Pegas at Skypack, where within doing this for a little bit of time, just a month or so, doubled the number of leads into the business, and we're able to reduce the cost per lead by 20%. And this here, we're selling 10 grand widgets. So we're selling corporate jet hire, basically, in the city. So you can imagine if you're selling corporate jet hire and all of a sudden you can double the number of leads, what that can start to do to the business. But like you're saying, there's a whole bunch of things in here. If you don't know what you're doing, it's just basically set up to lose your money, and that's two examples of them. I'm going to give you the PDFs of these so you can look at these two examples. If you've got AdWords, you can have a look at that. Remarketing is also really, really powerful. I'll explain what that is in a minute. Has anyone got remarketing set up at the moment? No? Okay, one down the back, Randall. Okay, so what this is about is the right message for the right person at the right time. So have you ever been to a website and then all of a sudden you start to see their banner ads everywhere? As they follow you around the web? Has anyone seen that before? Notice that? Yeah, so what they're doing is remarketing. You can do it with Facebook and you can do it with Google as well. So when I say the right message for the right person at the right time, so say for example, my wife Jules, she's a great example of this. She loves buying stuff online. But so say for example, she was your exact perfect customer. She was at your site, she was committed, she was even going to buy, but then it hit 3:15 in the arvo. She's just got to go pick up the kids. Then the place gets all crazy for a couple of hours, and then they go off to bed, and it's like this calm goes over. Has anyone felt that before? Yeah, if you've ever can relate to that. So this calm goes over and she might sit on the couch and get back on her laptop or whatever, and then she sees your banner ad. She goes, oh, those guys were great. Clicks on that and goes back to there. So you already had the right message and the right person, but you're missing the right time because she had to run out the door. Or it might not be, they might be researching it now and then see you a couple of weeks down the track, and that's when they're up to that in their sales cycle and they come back. It's also got a branding component. So there's part of it's direct response, meaning they click on it and they come over and they can take action. But there's also branding. So for example, your banners may show 130,000 times in a month out around the web, but you're only going to pay when people click on it. So your banners might show 130,000 times, and you might only pay $126 or something because people only clicked on it. So you've got to think, is it worth $126 to show my message to my target market that many times? It just really, really is amazing. So this is another one. If you're not doing it, you really need to think about it and add this in to your arsenal. Some of the people where we've added this in or shown them how to do it, becomes one of their biggest lead sources because these people are already pre-interested, pre-motivated. Okay, so and here's an example of what it looks like where you've got Rick's Jet banner ad, and in this case it's on the front page of eBay. So it's pretty impressive, right? And because they might need to have multiple touches with your brand. In the movie industry, they actually have a rule of 3 where they want 3 touches from 3 different media in quick succession. So you might want to do it here as well as on Facebook, as well as they've hit your brand, that kind of thing. And this is what effectively happens. Our clients say you guys are everywhere. So you're going to punch above your weight for a very, very little ad spend. It's very, very clever. How to double your business with digital marketing. And for some of you, you might think, wow, this is a bit of stretch. This guy's full of shit. We're not going to double my business just by getting the web cranking. But the reality is you can. Some businesses with as much as 5x them just by getting this piece right. You know what I showed you just then? Relevancy plus direct response. That, for that training company we were talking about, we're 5 times it just with that one strategy. So very, very important, some of this stuff. So yeah, doubling your business with digital marketing. One of the big things that I've learned recently is don't just focus on conversion rate optimization, but focus on customer value optimization, which Tony was talking about along the lines of how can you get your customers, spending more with you and building better relationships, that kind of thing. I'll skip over this. So the chain of conversion. What this is talking about is a very, very key point. Within your business, actually, if you learn about how to double and triple and quadruple businesses, there's actually levers within your business. And it becomes kind of formulaic. Well, not kind of, it actually does become formulaic. So if you want to double your business, effectively, if you can get your traffic up 10%, okay, and then you can get your lead inquiry up 10%, and then you can get your conversion rate from leads to sales up 10%, and then if you can get them spending 10% more, and then if you can get them coming back to buy again 10% more often, those numbers don't add together, they actually multiply together. So once you know how to do this, it becomes like compound interest, where everyone see the compound interest curve where it sort of goes like that. That's what happens with businesses when you understand how to do this chain of conversion stuff. It becomes very, very formulaic. Okay, so there's 3 main ways to double a business. Okay, so the first one is to get more clients. So probably no real surprises there. The second one is to get your customers spending more. And the third one is to get them buying from you more often. There's actually a fourth one as well, which I often leave out because it makes just things a bit simpler, which is improving your margins, so buying better and all that sort of stuff. It all adds up. And you're going to see, when I show you the example of the business we recently doubled in 5 months and tripled in 12, you'll see how we did each of these things. And so hopefully you'll get some light bulbs go off, around that. Okay, so again, 80-20. Remember, there's a whole bunch of things you can do online, but let's just focus on the stuff that works and let's get rid of everything else. I meet a lot of people who's spending 3 hours a day managing their Twitter profile and that sort of stuff, which is great if you're a celebrity. But for most others, the reality is you're just wasting your time. It's not going to put more leads, inquiries in. It's not going to put more money in your bank. Okay, so the 80-20 of it. And what you're going to see here about how we double businesses using the web, it's actually nothing that you haven't already learned now. So you already now know the fundamentals of internet marketing, what really, really works. So the first thing is an effective service page per problem or service. So remember, if you've got your plumbing service, it's a different page to your electrical service. You've got your headline, your subheadline, your bullets, images with captions underneath, that kind of stuff. So really, really effective. And even better if you can have a video on there that explains it. This is actually a very, very key point. If you think about your business, okay, so if you've got 6 or 8 services and things that you do, now 80-20 that, what are your 1 or 2 biggest services? Now think about the page for those websites, the website page for those services. Do you have a video on each of those pages that explains that service? And 98 out of 100 people don't. So really, really key point. So if you can include video, even better. So number 2, an effective call to action for every page. And it needs to be above the fold, meaning we don't want them to have to scroll down to get that call to action. So remember our 4 magic words, how can we help, ? So that will get you a lot of leads. Name, email, here we've got phone, but often we use mobile now, because that way if you can't get them, you can send them a text as well, it just works great. So, and here we've got the phone number as well, so phone us or online inquiry, that just works brilliant. So number 3, a responsive or mobile version of the site, including the main landing pages. So great if you can have responsive. If you're getting a new site, you really should. If you've got an old style site, you just want to get you really want to get a mobile site done of it. I'll give you a resource as well to get the mobile site. You've seen the impact of that. I just got to think of the URL. It's like $49 a month. This is one from our old agency, and you'll just make the whole web thing a whole bunch more effective. So So my website, mobile.com/free dev. So that's where our developers can build you a version of your site for free as a mobile version. And then, like I said, there's like a $49 licensing thing, because we have to buy the license for that thing, for that software.
What do you mean by responsive?
Responsive means it's going to adjust itself. I'm not sure who said that. Responsive means that the website's going to adjust itself depending on the size of the screen. If you look on an iPad, it'll be slightly different So it doesn't matter which one you've got, but you need at least one of those now. And Google has said, when we were there in February, they were saying that from a search engine optimization point of view, they're not being so forgiving now for businesses that don't think about this, because it's halfway through 2014 and their view is business owners have had long enough to adjust. So you need something in this space. Okay, number 4, a professionally designed Google AdWords campaign. So this is such a big multiplier that 95% of the room isn't using. So getting a professionally designed Google AdWords campaign, if you've got an effective site already that does those things that we just showed you, you can, it's not uncommon to double a business just using this. Google AdWords, when done right, is like crack for businesses. Businesses get hooked on it, and often it'll become their only source of traffic after a while. But having only one source of traffic is always dangerous. And number 5 is remarketing banners. So when they hit your website, previously, unless they called or unless they inquired, you basically never hear from them again. So now you can follow them around the web with banners, or you can follow them onto Facebook. So get ads turning up on that right-hand side and in the main news feed on Facebook as well. So I'll just take questions at the end, if that's okay. And number 6, an email sequence. So if they inquire with you, if they're on your database, then nurture them. Basically, you want them to come to you. You don't really want to be cold calling people if you can avoid it. You want them to come to you already liking you, trusting you, and predisposed to do business with you. You want to be the logical choice so that they know, oh, she was really, really switched on in her space. We've really got to use her, that kind of thing. So an email nurture sequence. All right, so this is a testimonial from Sunny from Yoga Surfing Retreats. She's given us permission to show the example now. So, so this was her testimonial where the bank manager said to me, "Do you realise you've just tripled your business?" So she actually didn't know that she tripled her business at the time, but we had a fair idea that that was pretty much where it was heading. And this is sort of one of many, but I'll show you the big leverage points for how that came about. So hopefully once you've seen this example, it can then plant some seeds as to things you can do in your own business. Alrighty, so this is one thing we do, which is a tool set we use, which is called the Double Digital Dashboard. Effectively what we do is we take all these things that are like all the different options that you've got available to you online, and then we 80-20 them down to, okay, what's junk for this business and what's really, really relevant for this business. And then we put them in A's, B's, C's, and then we focus on the A's first, because based on our impact E's, they're going to give us high impact, that kind of thing, and easy to implement. So got rid of all the junk, and then we've A, B, C'd it, and then we track, how we're going with it and that kind of thing. So that was one of the things that we did here. We implemented junction boxes where people were after different yoga teacher trainer courses, make it really, really easy for people to see, which course was right for them. We also optimize the money pages. Remember we spoke about within your business, there's certain products or services that bring in more revenue, more profit than everything else. So we focus on those. So in this case, we put the video on and that doubled the lead inquiry, headline, sub-headline, calls to action above the fold. Remember primary and secondary course of action here. So, green for enroll now and yellow for inquire now. All this is happening above the fold before they have to scroll down. So if they click on inquire now, it then takes them off to an inquiry form. We're effectively asking, the same sort of stuff as we spoke about before. And previously the business didn't have this. And then if they do inquire, remember then we want to nurture them. So once they have inquired, obviously we get back to them via phone, but we also start sending them emails off to, in this case it's an emotional nurture because it's actually an emotional sale for this market. So we're sending them videos off to people who've done the course before and then what their experience was and that kind of thing. So it really, really worked well. And then if they say that they're ready to buy, then we take them down to here and we do what's called a yes or yes close. So we're not saying, do you want to buy it or don't you want to buy it? We're saying, do you want this one or that one? Or in this case, there's 3 options. And here, we've got a secure my place deposit, 5 easy payments, or a single investment. And in this case, the secure my place deposit worked best every time. So, and then we hit their card like 7 days before the course, that kind of thing. And then we also take the risk away with a guarantee, so adding a guarantee there as well. So once we got this to the point where it was filled, so this is like a $2,500 ticket, so to speak. Previously they were selling like 15 of these it basically runs every month, not quite every month, but you get the gist. So previously they were selling like 15 of these $2,500 widgets, and then by doing all these things, we then got it to capacity. So it was now selling 35 of them at $2,500. So what's the next logical step? Adjust the price. Remember, because to double our business, we want more customers and then we want them spending more. So we just bump the price up by $100 to $200 per one. But it doesn't sound like much. But so say, for example, if you've got 35 of them and they're all giving you an extra $200, then it really starts to add up, considering you only had 15. And then after that, we want to get them buying more from you as well. So then we add an upsell behind it saying, okay, cool, you've decided you're going to do this. A lot of people stay on for the next 3 days at the end and get another qualification and it's only $300. Do you want to do that too? So we're then getting them spending more as well. We also, just basically make an effective page, professional Google AdWords campaign. If you get your marketing right, you get to the point where you can turn it on and off like a tap. So here, like in this screenshot, they're all paused because that's when a campaign's full, when a course is full. So she effectively turns it on when she needs it and she turns it off when she doesn't. So it's great if you can get your marketing to that level. And every business should really aspire to get to that level. So, and then also remarketing campaign as well. So those banner ads as they follow people around the web. So you can see none of that was really rocket science, but all it was is just the fundamentals done over and over again, really, really well. Often as business owners, we get bored of stuff before the market does, so just focus on those fundamentals, and make it crank. So here's, that's our main site, collective.com.au, if anyone wants to touch base and see if we can help you out. And that video there, collective.com.au/case study, if there's someone in your business that you would like for them to understand the same stuff you now understand, it's like a 60-minute version of, it's not exactly the same, but similar sort of stuff. So, all right, that's a wrap for me.
All right, guys, please put your hands together for Greg Cassar. Thanks so much, mate.
Questions? Do we have time for that? Or?
Yeah, I think we do. Definitely got a couple of questions. Now, guys, full on, yeah? We could spend a week with Greg and still not know everything. So my suggestion would be is just to make sure you write that down, collective.com.au. If you're going to get your brain operated on, you go to a brain surgeon, all right? If you are going to get your website operated on, you go to Greg Cassar, all right? If there's little things that you watched in there that you think, well, I need to do that. I need to do some of this stuff, guys. Seriously, Greg's like the rock star, guru, ninja sort of thing. So that's who you talk to. So, all right, let's have a couple of questions.
Yeah, I think...
Question is, how do you get through the crap to find the gold? Yeah.
I think you're already doing it. You're plugging yourself into awesome environments, like this one. And because, Steve doesn't put Muppets on his stage, so to speak, only sort of people that know what he's doing. So he's doing a lot of the pre-filtering for you. But there definitely is a lot of sharks. One thing I would say is if an SEO agency or an AdWords agency is ringing you, cold calling you, they're no good. So if anyone who's really, really good in this industry, they're doing all this stuff that we're talking about there. Like, for example, our agency just had leads just coming in every day. So we just talk to people. If there's a win-win, we do stuff together. We can't help them, then we wouldn't, that sort of thing. So if they're chasing you, then they're not. But you want to see results that they've got for people before. It's a really, really hard one, that, sorry. Yeah, so the question is about, which is more effective with the responsive or the mobile. I would say have both if you want. It depends on whether you need inbound phone calls. If you're really after inbound phone calls, then having a dedicated mobile site, you'll get definitely more inbound phone calls because it's making it really, really easy. They just click on it and call. And that's such a rich medium. An inbound phone call is always better than an online lead because you've got that sales conversation going. It's just a richer conversation. So if you don't need inbound, if you're not dependent on inbound calls, then I'd say just do responsive. So yeah, go from there.
Yeah. All right, we've got another question here with Will.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks. WordPress, yes, no, or can we do better?
So the question is about like WordPress. So WordPress is a very common way of building websites for business owners. The other two main ones are Drupal as well as Joomla. WordPress is definitely the easiest one as far as, if you say, for example, this guy was your developer and you weren't happy with him, it's very easy to change to someone else. So one common thing we see is where developers develop websites based on their own proprietary platform, and effectively they lock people in so that you're effectively held at ransom. We really, really hate that. It doesn't meet our integrity thing. So WordPress is great, but it's and that's how we build all our websites except for our e-commerce stores. But it's a bit like Internet Explorer where every virus and its dog is being written for WordPress now. So whoever your web guy is, you just basically will need to ask them about what have you done to harden our website. So if you think of it, hardening means there's a whole bunch of like gates or ports that are open. What are you doing to shut those gates so that, they can't get in? So make sure that WordPress is kept up to the latest version, and there's also just different what's called plugins that you can put on there so that it tightens it all up. Just straight out of the box when you first install it, it's not very secure. So it's very easy to get hacked, which is a good point, sorry, on that. We use this thing called Securi. So it's a very, really, really cheap service. But what it does is, it's like, if you think about your PC, you wouldn't run your PC without antivirus on it. You shouldn't do the same on your website as well. So this costs like $79 for a year. And the other good thing about it is if you do, in the unfortunate circumstance where you do get hacked, basically your web developer, it'll give them a roadmap to say this file was changed and that file was changed by the hacker. Otherwise, your developer's got to go in there and they've got a little bit of a needle in a haystack type scenario. So I'll write that down for people as well if you want. That's everyone should run this on their website.
You know those things that aren't a problem till they're a problem?
Yeah.
When your website gets hacked, it's a problem. Yeah, you almost have to start again if you don't have something like this in place. So I'd probably suggest anybody who's got a website that gets any sort of traffic from it, this will also be very, very valuable. I mean, $79 is a very, very small investment for something that can basically put a stop to.
It'll cost you a lot more than that $79 if you do get hacked and you have to get it sorted out, especially if they don't have any roadmap of what's happened.
Yeah, killer.
Yep.
Okay, Richard, might just take a couple more questions. So there's lots of different products that we use. Yeah, yep.
It's free, okay?
And last one, Grant. Sorry, we'll come back.
With Google AdWords, B2B and B2C, definitely B2B you'll get less traffic as a general rule than B2C, but that can be a good thing. Both can work great, but one of the things is really just that pruning, so getting rid of the waste. Most people don't get rid of the waste, and that's why they think it's just too expensive. Also, another thing, it's a bit advanced, but when you get a new AdWords campaign, everyone wants to be a little bit conservative with their budget, but in order to win the game, you've actually got to go in hard and outbid everyone in your first week or two, and then you tune it down slowly like this, your cost per click and that kind of thing, and that can work great. So yeah, it works great in both B2B and B2C, but some B2B can be just very limited search volume. That can be the only problem.
Perfect. And we've got one last question here with Marilyn.
How costly is it to change over to WordPress when you've got one of these unusual type developments? They've actually locked you in.
Okay. So WordPress sites, you can really get them from as little as $1,000 maybe to like our agency was like $12,000 or whatever to get a website done with traffic, like for example Google AdWords. But sometimes getting a website done for $1,000 is really a bit of a false economy. The reason why is because you get what you pay for, and ideally you want to go to someone who's a marketer first and they do web stuff second. You know what I mean? So you want to go to someone who lives and breathes marketing but is also technical, because really what you're after is a lead machine. You want a lead machine. You don't just want a website. So but I hope that helps.
Yeah. All right.
And I'm around. I've got a flight to the States, so I'm around today and tonight. So any way I can help sing out, but I can't stay tomorrow.
Yeah. So the VIPs will have access to Greg tonight at dinner, but like he said, he won't be able to hang around for tomorrow. So guys, how about can we put a big round of applause here for Greg Cassar? Thanks, Greg.